Well, political parties who normally hold opposing ideological views in the city of Johannesburg are speaking in one voice regarding the way forward today. This is in the aftermath of last week's destructive floods. They say part of the solution is the upgrading of infrastructure in the wider southern Johannesburg region. Politicians have also put their differences aside to help those who've lost everything rebuild their communities. Newzroom Afrika's Tumaole Mohlaoli is in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg this morning. Tumaole, what else can you tell us about this non-partisanship, this neutrality that we're seeing from the city's councillors today?
Well, what we're definitely seeing is something that the councillors are taking upon themselves to say that rebuilding, assisting and, of course, supporting the communities which have been affected. And many within these communities have simply lost everything. So we certainly spare a thought for them. And some sad news that this morning one of the residents from here in Lenasia unfortunately has passed on. I think what officials are saying is that related to perhaps the stress and the strain of the extent of the damage caused by the deluge. But let me give you a quick background into the history of the flooding in this area. Certainly nothing as drastic as what we have seen over the last couple of days. This is something that residents and officials are saying. When you look at the flood timelines, the first big major flood where by the river here burst its banks was around December 2010. And then the second flood was around 2020 and 2022. This has been called the worst flood ever. So you look at the timelines there, and it goes 10 years between the first floods, and now it's 2 years since the 2020 flood, and certainly doesn't bode well. And of course, with that warning from the weather service, it certainly suggests that climate change is playing a problem. Climate change and infrastructure, or the lack of infrastructure management over the years, degradation of infrastructure, has created certainly a perfect storm and has led to this particular crisis that we find ourselves in. But let's get more from the people on the ground who are dealing with the mop-up operations and assisting the community. We are joined by Nokuthula Nomfemela, who's the ward councillor here. Nokuthula, you've been here on the ground for the last couple of days. You've been on both sides of this particular river. And what's the way forward?
The way forward is for officials to come and do work. We are tired of reports. We are tired of studies that are done. We just want to see implementation. That's the way forward.
When you look at the timelines of these storms and this particular water breaking its banks, the river, if I can call it that, or the catchment area of that river, it certainly would suggest that there would have been forewarning, or there should have been some kind of preemptive action from council. Why has council failed?
We have been communicating with the officials from Region G. Despite the storm, there's been a case of the stagnant water. So we have been communicating through the Regional Director's Office for JRA and the ISD to come and open the blocked pipes here. So nothing has been done. I have been a councillor for a year now, and I've been running around with this issue, but the officials have failed me. They have also failed these residents.
Let's bring in, of course, Zarina Motala, Action for Accountability in a Resident, an activist, someone who's got their finger on the pulse. So you've been monitoring and you've been close to the pulse to what happened here. You've also incurred some very serious losses, heavy losses to your property damage. Tell us what is the history here, and what have you learned from it, and what can officials take from it going forward?
Okay, so the history here is that the residents of this area have been living here for the past 56 years. As you indicated earlier, the first flood was in 2010, December. After that was 2020. At that time already, residents already incurred financial losses to their motor vehicles. What happened on Friday, and as you could see from the videos, the devastation in my home, is the devastation and financial loss and anxiety of people throughout this area. And just to say, if it wasn't for the activism and the Ubuntu displayed by our emergency services, our CPF, our patrollers, our activists that are just there, we could have had a lot more fatalities. So just to say, by Friday, the call was made for everyone to come in with boats and canoes to evacuate people from this side of the road right up to the end. And just to safely say, with their intervention by the community, everybody was safely rescued and taken to homes or wherever they need to be. But looking at where we are, this matter has not been attended to by the city of Johannesburg. They have failed this community dismally. So as Action for Accountability, that's just started a project last year. This was one of the areas, including the Abu Aswad Bridge, that you would have noticed was closed on Friday by the community and by the activists. The kind of dangers we're going to experience should cars and pedestrians. Well, there's no way I mean, we couldn't access our homes it's a sign of relief that we could walk on the road. And at the end of the day, nobody's being held accountable. And if is, what is the consequence management for the officials? You may say this is a natural disaster, but in our layman's terms, for the way we understand this community, it could have been averted somewhat. Had there been commitment, had there been maintenance of infrastructure, even if it meant, like in 2020, where the culverts were cleared by the JRA. From then to date, despite all the warnings, as mentioned by the councillor, nobody has heeded the call. So we are where we are with the devastation. I won't even call it a mop-up operation. It's like where to from here now. It's far from a mop-up. It's like where to from here. But I want to say again and if it's not for the community that came forward and assisted, I don't know where we would have been.
If I could bring in Lou Babalo Mangwenshu, he's the PR councillor representing the minority parties in the city of Johannesburg. We've heard, of course, from Zarina there saying the community has stepped up. Where have the finances? I know that the city has budgets and the city has allocated budgets for infrastructure management, and an area like this that forms part of the city's plans would have infrastructure budgets to maintain and to try and also make sure that the river and the waterways don't encroach on to the community side of things. What has happened to that money? Has it been used accordingly?
You see, these are some of the issues that we need to deal with when we're having council meetings. Because the very same issue was raised when the mayor was doing her leisure tour. This issue, I think, was on the 9th of November, which is a month ago. This issue was raised by the councillor, and nothing happened after that. Even after that, the councillor then engaged the MMC of EISD, which is Michael's son, about this issue. And the response that came from the MMC was that, no, this is not his responsibility. He's not responsible for this. We are going for the wrong door. I mean, we're knocking at the wrong door, which is, I mean, it's something that is not supposed to be happening. Now we're having all these issues. Now, what we need to do is that the mayor and the mayoral committee should come here so that, because we need a collaborative effort here. They need to come here in this state with the engineers as well, so that we find ways to deal with the problems. Yes, it's not time now to be pointing fingers, but it's time to deal with the situation, to deal with the matter. And to do that, we need the mayor and her team to be on the ground.
Let's bring in Margaret Arnold, PR councillor, also representing minority parties in the city of Joburg. Margaret, the question about where has the city been, where would you say you put it in terms of response, in terms of accountability, and how would you sum up what needs to be done to ensure that this problem, which seems to be recurring now all the more closer in terms of intervals between years, is something that has a lasting solution and we don't see this kind of devastation?
I first want to start off by saying condolences to the family that has lost a father, a brother-in-law here in Lenasia. I want to say condolences to the family, and I also want to say that government needs to take responsibility when it comes to things like this. We've lost one life, and it's one life too many that has been lost. We've been doing this since 2020.
Zarina has just spoken about it happening since 2010, and it's now 2022. What has government done? Government has done absolutely nothing. We go through reports, we give solutions, we say that these are the recommendations, but there's no implementation. I also want to say that, yes, we are putting the blame onto the officials, but we also know that institutional memory is taken out of the city. People are being purged because they are being labeled as being ANC people. They are being deployed by the ANC. But we are taking out that institutional memory from the city, and thus reports cannot be seen through. But I also want to say that the community of Lenasia, especially of this road, has done so well. When we came onto the scene on Friday, these people already had their boats. These people were already rowing out here. Why can government not be as proactive as what these people are? And we are getting paid to do this. These people are not getting paid to do this. These people are taxpayers. You know that Indian communities pay their taxes, pay their dues, and we are doing this to them. Finances, where are the finances? We are also asking the same question, because the city has been in an overdraft of, what is it, 5 million? 5 billion. There's 5 billion that nobody knows what has been done with this money. Last week in Freedom Park, in Slovo, a child died in a pit toilet, and their infrastructure money was in the budget. What happened to the budget? We don't know. So I want to say to government, I want to say to the mayor, provincial government, national government, let's stop talking to the wall on the 27th, the 15th, and the 20th. Let's start doing what we are mandated to do by the people that voted for us. We are using these people as voting factories, voting machines, and we are not doing what we're supposed to do. I'm not saying I'm apologizing to the people of all the areas where there's been this, but I'm saying government, step up. It includes myself as well. Thus you are seeing us here as the minority parties, because we are looking for solutions with the people that are able to give us the solutions. Who is the residents? They can guide us through this. I'm calling on the mayor, I'm calling on the executive to come out and not tell us we are knocking on the wrong doors. You were elected to do the work. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Some very powerful and strong words from all of the people that I had on the panel here, just unpacking what has happened. But it's also very, very important that we do state here on Newzroom Afrika that those people who were called out, so to speak, whose names were mentioned, their various portfolios they represent, will be given an opportunity to get a right of reply so that they can put onto the table and for the record exactly what is going on. In terms of some of the allegations that have been put out here, we hear of allegations of mismanagement of funds, allegations of course, infrastructure that is not being seen to, allegations that people are not doing what they're meant to do in positions they are in. And of course, all those people who have been implicated, so to speak, will be reached out to and given an opportunity also to put their side across. But at the end of the day, spare thought for the people who have lost everything, who are now rebuilding their lives. And it will again be up to the officials in governance to try and assist where they can, because infrastructure management does fall in the realm of local government. For that, it's all we have at this particular moment in time from the aftermath of the floods. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Tumaole. And the resounding message, I think, for all of us there from Zarina Mothala being that this disaster could have been averted. Up next, though.